Hi, this is Lois DeWitt. I'm here today with a basic drawing shading exercise, and this is a great exercise for a beginner, for somebody just starting out, and to get the feeling about shading. You have a drawing pencil and you want to know how to use it, and one of the things you're going to need to know is how to shade an object. The easiest way to learn about shading is to remove yourself from the physical object. Just make a geometrical shape. In this case, I've just done a circle, traced around a dish actually on the paper to make this circle, and I'm going to shade it. And this is a great exercise just to warm up and learn about cross-hatching and shading. So we're going to pretend that this circle is a ball, because we're going to give it volume by light and shading. So I'm going to pretend that the light is coming down on the ball from this angle, and when you do this, you make the decision as to where the light is coming from, and then you start shading. So if the light is coming from this way, then you know that this part of this ball is going to be shaded. Best way to shade is slowly. Build up your lines. This is a regular drawing pencil. Nothing fancy. I got it at an art supply store, and I think they come in a package of 2. Not very expensive. But the nice thing about a drawing pencil as compared to a regular pencil is the lead is soft, and you can get a lot more tonality, which I will show you. I'm making the decision right now where the kind of light that's going to go on this volume, this ball, is enough light so that actually most of this right here will be highlighted, and most of the other half of the ball is going to be in shadow. As I'm working, you will see that I'm just using very short strokes. I'm not pressing down very hard, and I'm working them in various directions. This is a really good shading technique. It almost weaves the lines together as you would make a basket. What you're concentrating on here is building up the line slowly, looking carefully to see how the shading is developing. What I'm working for in this exercise is to shade this part of the ball and leave off on this side so that it appears that light is illuminating this side. And if you do it correctly, it's pretty convincing. Slowly developing the line. And I'm thinking, okay, if the light's coming from here, then there was going to be a little bit of shadow here. Maybe right up to here. Look carefully as you're working and see if you're convinced. If you're convincing yourself about the way the shading is looking. Now I've developed that, I'm going to go back into the edge here and bring in some more tonality. In this case, because I don't want to go out of the edge, I'm being a little more exacting with my strokes. Then as I work out into the ball, I can go back into this. This technique is called cross-hatching, and you can, it's a good way of shading. Cross-hatching is just simply crossing little short strokes of line to build up the shading. And it's a nice technique because you're in full control. You may have used pencils all your life, but when you're starting to draw, it is a different thing. You'll want to get a good drawing pencil, and you want to practice just without even getting involved with the subject matter right away, just using a geometrical shape. You can learn a lot. You don't need an eraser. You're probably noticing that as I'm working this way, that I'm actually manipulating the white of the page. And I'm saying that actually it's not white, it's light. That this is a volume that I'm drawing, and that the white is actually synthesizing the appearance of light on this volume. And the reason we can do it is because we're just so, we can do it this way because we're very used to seeing shaded objects like this. Slow buildup of line is a good way to go. You don't want to work too quickly. The other nice thing about a drawing pencil is that you can see, you can get a lot more tonality with a drawing pencil than you can with a regular pencil. If I want to, I can really make it very black on that edge. This is such a good way to learn how to shade, so that when you get into more complicated subject matter, you're not afraid. You're not encumbered by, oh gosh, now I've got all this I've got all this stuff to shade, and what do I do? The more you practice this technique, it'll become automatic, so that you'll be able to just do it automatically with practically any object that you see. When you do set up still life, you'll want to make it easier for yourself by illuminating the still life. If you're working outside, be very aware of the shadows. It's very complicated. There's a lot of reflected light and shadows and highlights and all kinds of stuff. And you want to simplify that. You want to simplify that in your work. If you try to put everything in, it's just going to be too daunting, and it's not going to be effective. Always, it's the artist's integrity that makes the power of the work. I could go on with this, actually. I could go on with this and keep on shading it, not filling it in, but just getting a little more explicit with my tonality, but I think I've reached a point where I think we kind of all know now about shading a volume. So do this practice. It seems like a very simple kind of like, oh yeah, well, what can I learn from that? But once you do it, you will see that just the skill of shading, you can learn so much just by doing that. And then if you want to get a little dramatic here, take some of that. And then if you want to, you can put in a background here. This would be called a figure-ground relationship. One of the primary skills of learning how to shade is to be aware of not only shading the object, but of the shaded areas around the object, figure-ground relationship. You can see now that I've taken this next step of development. Why, I could go on forever. Now what? I could fill in the whole background if I wanted to, but I just wanted to show you how effective even that kind of shading can be around just a simple geometrical shape. And I think that pretty well explains what a basic shading with pencil exercise is.